Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Effective Presentation Skills for the Virtual and Non-Virtual World. It's an E4 Carolinas Communication Seminar. I'm Jess Buchanan. I am now the Innovation Program Manager for E4. Our program today will feature an interactive session with Diane Chase of C4CS. This seminar is the second of three, which are held throughout the year, and they're focused on communication topics. The series is sponsored by C4CS. And I'm going to let Diane talk more about the company, herself, and get us started. So I'll turn it over to you,
thanks, Diane. Jess. I appreciate that. I love your new title. Very cool. Innovation Guru. Hello, everyone. So happy to be with you today. So happy you are here. And we are going to have, as Jess said, an interactive session. I want you to please feel free to jump in. Any questions, comments, just pop them in the chat or raise your hand or just go off mute. I'm happy to address any comments or any input that you have throughout the presentation today. That's what makes it more engaging to have everyone kind of stepping in and sharing their wisdom and their questions. So I am Diane Chase, and I am Senior Vice President of C4CS, which started out as the Center for Communication Strategies, and then we just kind of went C4CS. It is rather memorable, and we kind of like that. So we are specialists in strategic communication with a niche in crisis communication and crisis management. Our goal is to help our client partners succeed in their communication skills and their business and reputation management skills so that they can maintain their reputation, their business bottom line, and their brand equity. So it's anything strategic communication writ large that can help you reach your goals. My background is in broadcast journalism. I was a news director, anchor reporter for years, and learned the power and also the pitfalls of communication. So interviewing people and hearing their stories and sharing the stories with the broader world, if you will, really has become such a passion. And I've come on mostly the other side of the microphone and the camera to help people learn how to use communication for reaching their goals. And it's a skill that anyone can learn. People say, oh, they're just a natural communicator, a natural storyteller. They naturally know how to handle difficult situations. I would doubt that. It's something we all learn and we can always improve at, whether it's through media training, presentation skills training, crisis management, whatever it might be. We can always get better, right? The more we practice something, the more we do something, the better we will get at it. So that when, not if, but when something hits the fan, we're not going to be deer in the headlights. We're not going to be stuck. We're not going to be saying the wrong thing at the wrong time to the wrong person. And that's really, really, really important, because at that point, you want to do that muscle memory, right? You want to have that training, whether it's a presentation, whether it's a crisis interview, whatever it might be. That muscle memory is really powerful when you really need to call upon your communication skills. So with that, let's get going. We want to just give you a quick overview of the agenda here. And hopefully my computer will cooperate. I don't know if you heard my comments earlier, but it has not been a happy computer day. All right, so a quick overview here, our welcome. And I want to hear your best and worst presentation experiences. We'll get into that next. We'll talk about key tips and have some discussion. Then we'll have a really fun breakout session and come back together, share what we learned, share some insights and input. And even maybe some of you are back into in-person presentations or in-person conferences and meetings, hearing speakers. And I want everyone to open up your mic, share your stories. So what have you seen that has really made an impact for the good? What has been really bad, and what has been really ugly? And I think we all have had some experiences in all of those categories. I know we've all probably by now seen the attorney turned cat. We have seen people presenting, sitting back and, kind of like they're being bothered by being on screen. We've seen really ugly with, the no pants issues that have come up on Zoom. So there's been a lot of opportunity for us to go, ooh, memo to self, don't do that, or memo to self, that looked really good. They really were engaging. They were looking at me. They weren't, I wasn't looking up their nose or down their nose, or I wasn't, about to go into a fit because someone's ceiling fan was going crazy over their head. All of those good things that are really distracting. So who wants to share? What have you seen that it was a lesson learned or a good takeaway? Anybody? I know you all have some stories where you've seen something.
Hi, this is Katie Walton. Can you hear me?
Hi, Katie. So glad you're here.
Yeah, and I'm leaving my camera off just for hopes that I won't have networking issues. But my story actually happened through an E4 event that happened just last week or the week before. I was trying to help one of our colleagues in the manufacturing area give a presentation to some E4 leadership session attendees. So sure enough, we're having some networking issues at our plant right now. And I failed to really warn adequately our presenter. So he had made some changes to his slides. So only he had his materials that he was really wanting to present, and then had to really forfeit that time over back to me that could present on behalf of the company. So it was unfortunate because I really know that lesson of, okay, you should have a backup person to present, or a backup slide deck that, whoever is running the meeting can run it for you if need be. So lesson learned again that you should always have those kind of things in place, because whether it's one presenter or another, I think it's the message gets through, and you can have engagement, but you can really be hindered by your technology.
There's no doubt about it, and you're so right. Plan B and plan C, even are always a good option. I remember one time, it was a nightmare situation. It was kind of like a presentation because I was anchoring a newscast, and the entire newscast went away. So I closed my eyes and I just kind of tried to see the news stories in my head, and was just kind of ad-libbing the entire newscast. So technology, oh my gosh, we love it, we hate it. But the bottom line is we need to be able to communicate whether we have it or not, right? We need to remember that our PowerPoint is not the presentation. We are the presentation. We are the medium and the message. PowerPoint is a nice to have, but it's not a need to have if you really know your stuff and you really are clear about what you're talking about and why you're talking. Thanks for that, Katie. Yes, we've been there, done that. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Jim Little.
Hi, Jim.
This is years ago, but I had to go to a last minute conference in Philadelphia, and this was in the days of 35 millimeter slides and a carousel.
Oh gosh.
And they gave me these slides, and I flew away in the plane, and I got that carousel with me, and I plopped it in and realized that someone had given me an empty carousel. And it was designing graphic displays for nuclear power plants. Can you imagine doing that without slides? Well, this is in the days of
get your stick figures out and
yeah, well, in the days of clear overheads and a marker, which I had in my briefcase, I ended up drawing these slides by hand during the meeting, and I actually ended up with the best presentation because I said color's not important. So it was the ultimate ad lib. I ended up getting the best presentation was really by mistake. So it's always kind of being prepared. And what I like to do, I've given lots of presentations, is I like to be able to give that presentation without looking at the slides at all. Just off, as you just referred to, Diane, is just tell that story. And if you can memorize, and if your slides tell a story, and you don't forget stories.
Exactly.
So that's the advice I give everybody. And and always double check and always think bad thoughts. What if I didn't have these slides? What if I didn't have these presentations? What if the bulb blew out? Those kind of things. So anyway, but that was, so I flew to Philadelphia with an empty carousel.
Oh my gosh, what a great story. So it's kind of like having your whole PowerPoint deck go away. You had no slides, but it was the old kind of slides.
Exactly.
Now we have PowerPoint slides. But that's such a great example of using creativity and innovation to convey a visual. But when you talk about stories, they really are the most powerful way to communicate, because as humans, we are hardwired to tell stories and we're hardwired to listen to stories. And the neuroscience around it is fascinating. We don't remember data and statistics. Now, if you wrap that in a story, we will remember the story. So that's a whole different topic, but thank you for sharing your story. Who else? Anyone? Christine.
Hi there, my name is Christine. I'm calling in from Toronto, Canada.
I love Toronto. Welcome.
Yay, thank you so much. My situation was I didn't present, I was attending a workshop. So the person who was presenting was talking way too fast, just too fast, that myself and the others found that he was just talking way too fast, and he even addressed it. He said, I know I talk too fast, but is the pace okay with you? Okay, yeah. I'm looking at the chat and people are saying it's cool, so I'm just gonna go with the way I'm talking. Okay.
Oh.
And I felt that there were, I don't know, it was a workshop, so we couldn't see how many attendees there were. So it was a popular workshop. It was on design thinking, and it's something that you would need to have more detail about, but he was just going way too fast. The good thing about that is he gave us his presentation ahead of time, so we were able to follow what was on the presentation, because it was just going way too fast. So I felt that I didn't get what I needed to get from the presentation, because he was just talking way too fast, and there was very little participant interaction.
Right, because people were so distracted by the pace and just missing what his message was, right?
Exactly.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it was good that we got the slides ahead of time, but some people didn't get the slides ahead of time, so there was that disconnect. So overall, I rated the presentation unsatisfied because I couldn't follow.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Hopefully there was a section for feedback where he will take note of it's kind of funny that he asked, am I speaking too fast? And he just didn't care whether anybody thought he was or not.
Yeah, there were, I guess, one or two people that said, please slow down. And he did slow down for a bit, but then as the presentation went on, he upped the pace. And I think that also happened to be because he had to condense everything all within 90 minutes. So.
So what's the takeaway from that? The takeaway is, if you feel like you have to speed through your presentation, you need to condense.
Exactly. And there was no room for Q&A. I think there was just 5 minutes for the Q&A, and the moderator at that point came on to tie up loose ends. So there was really no Q&A, no interaction. So I felt like that I didn't get what I needed from it. So yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Good point. Absolutely.
Thank
Anyone
you.
else? Okay. Well, speaking of examples of the good, the bad, and the ugly, we're going to have a little video clip here that will kind of get us all on our toes and go, oh my gosh, don't want to be that person. So Jess is going to jump in and help us with showing a little video here.
Technology technology kills viruses in just one. What did you do, Mom? Dad, holy crap!
Must make sure that our nation's sole proprietors and the smallest of small businesses receive timely.
Will the gentleman suspend? I'm sorry, Mr. Emmer?
Yes,
Are you okay?
I am.
You're upside down, Tom.
I don't know how to fix that.
States.
I tell you what, I know Jenny is regularly this right at the end. It's like, what the let's get died to be a little bit.
Turn his microphone on.
Jenny, as well as
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take a
We're
look.
trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It
In the-
is, and I don't know how to remove it.
So we just got to come up with these new ideas and new ways for us to really make it work. So I'm working with a few people where we're exploring things like video, iPhone video, working with people who might have an SLR in their home.
It's still going.
I should let you go.
Oh. They got tremors going on there.
I love the look on the guy's face with during the cat incident. Well, he was not entertained. So obviously we want to make sure that we are not in any of those positions, right? All right, all right. So I don't know if everyone has seen some of those videos, but hopefully you're back seeing my screen now. Yes?
I think you have to screen share again.
Oh, I had you.
Oh, I thought I was. Yes.
You're back.
I'm back.
No, your slides aren't back.
That's true.
You're on.
I'm on. I don't know if you guys were on.
I thought slides weren't important.
They're not important. And you know what? I almost said, I'm going to do this without slides because it's all about purpose and engagement. What do we mean by that? We mean being very clear on the purpose of your presentation. What is your message? So focus on your message and then delivering it well is the engagement piece. So purpose and engagement, how purposeful are you in the reason for your presentation? What is the message you want to leave your audience with? And what are the communication skills that you need to deliver that message in a way that resonates and that connects with your audience? So at the end of your presentation, you should leave your audience thinking differently about something, feeling differently about something, or ready to do something. So again, when you're crafting the purpose of your presentation, what do you want them to think, to feel, or to do? So if you're doing a presentation, say to an investor group, and you're wanting them to invest in your organization, or even if you're delivering one to your stakeholders, your employees, what do you want them to invest in terms of a value? How do you want them to role model? What do you want them to do about a new protocol or policy? So what do you want them to believe about them? What do you want them to think and believe about engaging with this investor opportunity? What do you want them to feel about that? And the feeling piece is all about building trust. They feel that they can trust you and your company, your organization, and so they want to be investing in that financially or personally. And then what do you want them to do? And that's oftentimes the biggest foggy piece. People leave a presentation with, they're like, okay, that's an hour of my life I'll never get back. What am I supposed to do with that information? What? What just happened? So what do you want your audience to think, feel, and do? Keep that in your mind as you're crafting your message, which is the purpose of your presentation. All right, we're going to go through fairly quickly here 10 keys to successful presentations. The first one is going to be energy. And energy is everything, because you're going to be able to connect with people if you have energy and passion about what you're doing. Simple things like standing up keeps you more energized. And energy can go, whether it's a media interview, a webinar, a presentation, whatever it might be. If you stand, it really is going to help you stay energized. You're not going to get too relaxed. You're not going to be that guy doing presentation skills training the other day on a webinar I was watching that was sitting back, just, way too disconnected. I'm like, he doesn't even care to be here. Why should I listen to him? Energy, super important. Facial expressions, you want to convey interest in your audience. You want to convey empathy. You want to convey professionalism. Facial expressions need to mirror, and we'll talk about this some more, mirror what you're saying. So make sure that you don't have that resting cranky face, shall we say. And some people, their resting face sometimes looks like they're unhappy, or they're intense, or they're not aware of their facial expressions when they're not smiling. I think we all know some people like that. And you're like, oh gosh, what are they mad about? They're not mad about anything. They're just not aware that their face looks that way. So be aware of that. Gestures, that really connects to energy. If you talk with your hands, I do, as you can tell. Energy can come through your gestures, but make sure that they're not over the top, especially if you're on video or doing a TV interview or whatever. You don't want, you don't want jazz hands. You don't want like too much, like up here. So keep them under control. Movement. This is more for on stage, really, but also, you don't want to be swaying back and forth. We talk about if you're sitting in a chair that swivels, you're going to be naturally going to do this. If you're on stage, you want intentional movement. You don't want to be, pacing. You don't want to be just randomly walking around the stage. You want to move with intention, not to the point where it's distracting. And then eye contact. And this is the big one on video, Zoom, whatever it might be, to make sure that you're looking at the camera. And lots of different tricks to do that in terms of putting a photo of someone you really like to talk to and who really likes to listen to you at the top of your camera, so you're looking at them. So eye contact is really important, very, very key to connecting with an audience, especially virtually. In a big room, if you're in person, you want to scan the room, spend maybe 3 to 5 seconds, especially if it's a big crowd, 3 to 5 seconds making eye contact around the room. You want to move from one side to the next. You don't want to be like this, but just those little bits of eye contact. And that helps you too. It helps you feel like you're talking to a person and not this ginormous audience, right? So it helps that anxiety level a little bit. You're just talking to one person at a time. And then we're going to go on to the vocal quality. And we're going to get into some of this as well. So vocal quality has to do with your energy, the power of your voice, the inflection, all of those things that go into conveying your message in a way that is pleasant, acceptable, not distracting. So your vocal quality is really important. I have some, especially one friend who has the tiniest little voice, and you really have to listen hard. She's the most wonderful person, one of the most wonderful people I know, but she just has this really tiny voice. So for her to present, it would take a lot of effort for her to really push herself, push her voice out. So just be aware of that. Again, it's all back to practice and training. The words and content obviously are very, very important. You want to be clear on your message. You want clarity in your message. You want conciseness in your message. Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Simple words, plain language. I have a friend who has a whole business called the Plain Language Institute, and that's her expertise, is taking gobbledygook documents and making them understandable, giving them meaning with words that really are understood by the vast majority of people. Non-words, the ums and the ahs and the huh and the like, and you know, and we all do it. And there's just an awareness factor of trying to minimize your non-words because they distract from your message. Pauses are powerful, the power of the pause. If you want to make a point, pause. Because what happens? You kind of like, you know, what are they going to say next? Use pauses. This has always been, well, it's not as much anymore, but initially it was a really challenging aspect of communication for me because dead air was anathema. Just, you know, you can't have dead air if you're doing the news. So I have learned the power of the pause, and I kind of love it. And then pace. And, you know, we talked earlier about speaking really fast, where you're just losing your audience, or you're speaking too slowly and you're putting people to sleep. So just a nice, energized, varied pace throughout your presentation will really go a long way. Any comments, questions, input on any of those?
You know,
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much, Diane. My name is Daniela.
Hi, Daniela.
I'm from Angola, Africa.
Oh, wow.
I have a question about the voice, the vocal quality. So do you have any suggestion from us to train it or something?
You know, that's a great question. There are a lot of vocal exercises you can do. And I am happy to, we're going to be sending out a survey, and I'll get with Courtney and see if I can send out a couple of documents that will give you some vocal exercises that will train your voice to be stronger and more powerful that you can use. Would that be helpful?
Yes, it's going to be helpful. Thank you.
There's also vocal coaches.
Right. People who specialize in just training voice.
They did that with Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, they did. Interesting. I didn't know that. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So there will be a theme that you'll pick out throughout the presentation around these 3 key V's is what I call them: verbal, vocal, and visual. So your verbal is actually the words that you're using, whatever your content is, whatever you're crafting in terms of your messages and your words. Vocal, the way you sound, the way you deliver that. And then the visual, the way you come across physically. So vocal and visual and verbal all work together. It's like a Venn diagram. Any idea which one may be less of a factor at the end of your presentation in terms of what people remember? Well, believe it or not, they will remember the way you presented, the way you looked, and the way you sounded more than the exact words that you said. which is a little disconcerting in some ways, but just something as human beings we pick up on. You'll notice if you see someone on TV who's speaking, who's being interviewed, and they have some crazy, tie on or something, you're distracted by it, right? And you might miss a sentence that they said because you're going, why did they choose that tie, right? It's just as human beings, we're distracted by the visual. The tone of voice. I heard someone being interviewed on a news station, and they sounded, although they were saying, it's great to be here, it was like they were the most annoyed person on the planet at the moment. They did not want to be doing that interview, and it came across so, I was talking to my radio going, wow, guy, you need to go home or something. It was so, I missed everything he said because I was so distracted, turned off by his tone of voice. So just kind of monitor this, and as we go through the presentation, you'll see these pop up in various forms. We did talk about the 3 key V's again, and happy to send this out afterwards. I know a lot of people have to leave after an hour, so we're right at 1:30, so I understand that people are having to leave after an hour, so we will make sure to make this available to whomsoever needed to dash away. All right, so the 3 key V's, and again, I apologize. The nonverbal, we'll go over this real quickly again. It's so important because people do remember our expressions, our tone of voice, how we present ourselves. So just keep that in mind. And, some good awareness exercises are to practice, just with yourself. Record yourself on Zoom and play it back, or have a friend, get online with you and present to a friend on Zoom or whatever platform you use. Same thing in person, have them come over and do your presentation. You can never practice enough. Here's what we were talking about earlier in terms of we're not realizing what our expressions are doing to undermine what we're saying, right? So if these words were coming out of the mouths of either one of those two, would you really believe them? I don't think so. They don't look like they welcome questions or really are concerned about anything, right? It's just, okay, can we get out of here now? So make sure to always align your nonverbal and your verbal communication. So let's get to the beginning. Content preparation. Always start with the why. Why are you presenting? A presentation is not a document. It's not really the best means to convey information, quite frankly. It's back to getting people to do something, think something, or feel something. And you can't do that through a document or a data sheet or a report or a case study even. Bring that information to life in a presentation to get the result that you want, to get the action that you want. So always, like Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. Why are you presenting? What do you want people to think, feel, or do? The audience, super, super, super important. What's everyone's favorite channel? WIIFM. What's in it for me? What does your audience care about? Know as much as possible about your audience so that you can speak to them in a way that resonates and that really connects with what they care about, using language that they understand, conveyed in a means that they relate to. And then again, the goal. Be very, very specific on the goal, which will help you craft your message. What is the result that you want from your presentation? Content selection, less is more, as mentioned earlier. Leonardo da Vinci said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Less is more because people don't get lost in too much information and again, walk out of your presentation and go, okay, what am I supposed to do with that? I tuned out, 15 minutes in because it was too much. I couldn't figure out what the focus was. Less is more. Condense, condense, condense. Plain language wins. We mentioned that earlier as well. The opportunity for miscommunication, misunderstanding, mistrust is much lessened if you use plain language. The smartest people speak in very plain language. Now, if you're in a room of academics or attorneys or doctors, they have their own speak, right? They have their own language in their circles, but that's only in certain situations. You don't want to try and convey a concept or an interesting thought using highfalutin language that people don't understand. Authenticity rules today. People will listen to someone if they feel like they can trust you, that you're believable, that you're credible. Be authentic. Don't try and present like, you know, some TEDx speaker that you really, really like if that's not you. They're really good at what they do because they're authentic. It's not about trying to mirror someone else. You can admire them and learn from them, but don't try and be anyone but yourself. Be yourself, everybody else is taken, is the mantra, right? So be authentic, especially now in this time of virtual working and virtual relationships. You have to really, really work hard at conveying authenticity, and that means being yourself. Starting your presentation, just, you know, some quick ways here to keep in mind. Make a bold claim, give them the unexpected, move, you know, pivot into their curiosity, ask questions, tell a story. You noticed I started today with asking questions. That's one of my favorite ways to do, because I really am interested in what the audience has to say, what you guys have to say, what's on your mind, what are you thinking? So I really like to start with asking questions. Just some things to keep in mind in terms of starting your presentation. This is sort of an old tried and true structure. I'm sure a lot of you are aware of it. Tell your audience what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Now this can become trite, but it does provide a structure for you to be aware, again, of making sure that you're clear on your message and people understand why you're presenting. And then you give them the meat, and then you summarize it. You make sure the summary really is where you can make it clear what your message is. Really make it just like melt it down and get back to what you want them to think, feel, or do, and just leave them very, very motivated and clear on the value of what you just told them. Again, you cannot over prepare. Plan. So plan what you're going to do in terms of your setup.
Sorry, Diane, could you go back to the previous slide, please?
Sure.
So I just question about number 3. Tell your audience what you just told them closing. So would you reiterate number 1? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you would, yes, in a way, but not in the same. So you put a bow on it, right? So you wrap everything up and make it very succinct with your call to action, your summary, which is the reason that you presented. So you wouldn't repeat what you did in the opening, because your opening is more kind of like an overview, if you will, of what you're getting ready to dig into. And then the closing is the, you know, putting a bow on it and getting that call to action really, really clear.
Okay.
And there are a lot of different ways to bridge to that, so that you can use really powerful, simple phrases like, so the most important thing I want you to know today is, or if there's one thing I want you to leave with today, it is. the valuable piece of the entire presentation, you can wrap it up and leave them with that. So it's really clear in their mind.
I like what you said about wrapping it up with a bow, like having closure, like the bow, like
and then
icing on top of the cake.
Yeah. And here's their gift to go and be fruitful with what you just told them. Right? Any other questions or feedback? Okay, cool. Again, so planning involves everything from what you're going to wear, to where you're going to be, to the background. We'll talk a little bit about backgrounds for virtual coming up. So make sure to plan across your preparation, or your presentation. Practice. We talked about that several times. Do that tech check. I know today, even a good example, you can pre-tech check and do it again and again and again. So day of, there's still no guarantee, but do it, keep doing it anyway. Something's going to happen. And then again, practice again.
Hey, Diane, I guess the thing that I've always learned is arrive early.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to just show up right at the moment. Arrive early, scan the audience, see what the logistics are like, have a drink of something warm, warm tea, not coffee, but something that kind of clear your throat. But arrive early, look at the logistics, and always arrive early. Yeah, any presentation I've ever given, I arrive 15 minutes early minimum, and just kind of look around, see how it's going in the audience, kind of checking in there. Where's the logistics? I'll grab the moderator and say, how are we going to do this? Okay, but arrive early. Early is always better than just on time.
Oh gosh, yes. Talk about ramping up the anxiety level when you're like rushing, right? That's so important. That's a great point, Jim. And it also gives you time to walk around the room and meet people and actually introduce yourself. And so when you're up there presenting, you already kind of have a little bit of a relationship or a connection, so you don't feel like you're, talking to this mass of unknown people, right? You feel like, again, back to the scanning that we talked about. So you're talking to individuals, which is what communication is all about, no matter whether it's one person or 200,000 people. You're talking to one person at a time. All right, so what's the view? And this has to do with our lovely virtual world. So think of it as head, eye, and back. Okay, so the headroom you need to not be like full on into the screen like this woman. Leave some space, leave about this much space above your head, and don't have the up the nostril, or there's to me there, I see more of this, like they're looking down at you. I don't know what the situation is, but they look down into their computer or look down into the camera. It's really kind of like the guy down on the lower right there, looking down into the camera. I feel like, wow, are you a giant and I'm a midget? I don't know. You look really funny. And then the eye contact, again, we talked about putting the photo of someone above your camera you like talking to and they like listening to you. That's one trick a lot of people use. Make sure to have that eye contact, not down, up, sideways. You'll see people who are on a webinar and they're watching it on a monitor to the side. So you just get their side view the whole time. You're like, what are you looking at? So eye contact. And then back means whatever's behind you. I don't know how many of you like virtual backgrounds. I'm not seeing any today, which makes me happy, quite frankly, because I am not a fan of virtual backgrounds because they always go wonky. Unless you have, some high-tech ones where, every time you move, part of your shoulder disappears or your ear, goes off or whatever. Yeah. And to me, it's an opportunity to convey authenticity and like, this is the real me in a real place. And I just connect better with people when I see where they are. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Any opinions?
Yeah, I agree with you. The other thing, I tend to tell people divide your screen into thirds. So if you have a third, and a third,
Mhm.
you know, and then about halfway up on that, and then turn your body about 15 degrees to the side. You'll feel more interesting than, you know, the doing
The head
this.
on.
So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. No, I know, you know, I've been told, well, it's a lost branding opportunity, you know, not to have your logo behind you.
Or a book.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or your
By the
book.
way, notice the book in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Diane. I find that when somebody's on a Zoom background, when they move, there's like this white or black thing in the back, and it just seems a very awkward. And of course, it's the choice of background that matters too, right? Is it relevant to the meeting? So I find that if it's like, it's more authentic seeing what's in the background, right? So yeah, and making sure that, you know, if you have kids or pets, that they're not in the background doing a dance or something.
Yeah, you know,
I've had that. I've seen that before, where kids come in and they make faces, and the parent doesn't know that the kid's in the background.
when I was going through a lot of videos to get the clip that we showed earlier, oh my gosh, the number of, you know, animals, half-clothed people, dogs, cats. People seem to like cats coming into the view or on the computer, and I guess it's cute. To me, it's just distracting. So whatever the conversation was, whatever the presentation is now like, you know, you stop and then you have to regroup because the cat had a moment. So I really think that for a serious presentation, a meeting, whatever it is, you really can secure yourself and your pets and children for whatever time it is. That might sound harsh, but I kind of believe that. All right. And then overcoming anxiety. You know, the thing is to turn anxiety into energy, right? So breathing exercises really help in terms of, especially if you're running late and not doing the gym early thing. You know, half an hour is or even an hour early is really, really helpful. And that'll give you time to do your breathing exercises in terms of the 11 seconds in, 15 seconds out, whatever timing you use to do those slow breathing exercises and to close your mind for a little bit and get refreshed and envision success. Get it in your mind that this is going to be a successful presentation. This is how it's going to go through. Get all of that in your head, get that visual going. And then just enjoy it, you know, enjoy the opportunity to share your thoughts, your message to your audience. Tell you all to go forth and take your stage.
The world is the stage.
The world is your stage. It's your oyster.
Good.
It has been such a pleasure being with you all today. Thank you so much for your engagement and your interaction and all of your contributions to the discussion. It was very enjoyable. And please don't hesitate to stay in touch. If you think of another comment or a question or you need something, reach out. Absolutely would love to connect.
Yeah, and always leave your contact information on the last slide.
So I get an A for that.
Yes, you should do that. You'd be surprised. People want to talk to you after your presentations.
I'm hoping.
There you go. Thank you,
I'm
Diane.
just getting stuff on the chat, so bear with me. I'm still.
Oh, no problem. All right. It was wonderful. So Courtney, do you want to take us home?
Yes, I will take us home. So my name is Courtney Taylor. I will actually be taking over Jess's role. She's moving to Innovations, and I'm going to be taking over all the communication seminars. My title, I'm the Digital Communication Manager. I really want you guys to save the date for October 14th, because that is going to be the next day for our next seminar. Thank you all for attending today's seminar. It's been fun. It's engaged. I'm glad that everyone was interacting as much as they did. And I'm glad y'all actually took time out of your day to attend today's seminar. In the next few minutes, you are going to receive an email about a survey. We definitely appreciate your feedback. So if we want to make sure we can give you great content similar to today. So please take time to fill out the survey. It's only 5 questions. And then for a good incentive, as a thank you, everyone actually screenshots the thank you page at the end and send that to me. The email is going to be in the survey link. You'll be entered into a raffle to win some free E4 Carolina goodies. So please fill out that survey. Very, very much appreciate it. And thank you all so much.
Nice talking to everybody.
Thank you, guys. You have a great rest of your week, and take good care.
Great job.
Stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.